Is yours still playing, Dan? What are you
Mine
doing?
did play for a second. That was weird.
That was very weird. I heard it extra. We had a 31-second countdown today.
I guess.
How are you? Tell me everything.
There's not a whole lot to tell. I'm here.
I think that is salty.
It's been a weird week because so because of the Monday, Tuesday, no kids in school, and then my youngest, her at junior high, did the remote learning thing. So this week's just off for me. It feels like it should be like Tuesday, but also Sunday.
It feels like it should be 2020 again.
Yeah, something like that.
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a weird week, but we're excited today because we have a great guest who we know, both of us know. Her name is Caitlin Olsen. She's fantastic. She's smirking in her camera. She doesn't know that I can see her.
The advantages of being the host.
Right, exactly. I can totally pick and choose what everyone gets to see, but I get to see it all. So anyway, Caitlin is super talented in all things, and she's a great mom. She's a wife. She's a community member. She's a supporter. She's a lot of things. But we have some fun things I think we're going to talk about today, I think.
Well, let's get to it.
She picked the topic. I'm just going to put that out there. So we had a little conversation, and she picked the topic, and I think it's a great topic to talk about. So let's get her in here, shall we?
Let's do.
Okay, here we go. Hi, Caitlin.
Hello. How's it going?
You look fabulous today.
Oh, stop. Thanks.
Is it true that blondes have more fun?
Yeah.
Oh. I know the other night when we had our game night, you did seem like you were having a lot of fun at our game night.
Yeah.
Just kidding. We didn't have a game night, Dan. Dan felt all left out.
I'm feeling a little
left out. We totally have one. It's like a monthly thing, Dan, and you're never invited. I'm just kidding. That's not okay.
And it's like a speakeasy. You have to know like the secret location, and like there's like a secret entrance code.
There's a dress code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm glad I'm not invited.
The dress code is just clothes.
If your wife ever disappears for a night, that's where she is, Dan. Kellyanne McCormick says that you always look fabulous, Caitlin.
Thank you, Kelly. This is
we just came to talk about you. That's all we
do. Let's not.
The whole 30 minutes is just going to be talking about how amazing Caitlin is.
I'm going to leave now.
No, Caitlin and I were chatting a little bit about what, to talk about this week. And she actually came up with what I think is a really amazing topic to talk about in theater and, quite honestly, in the world. But before we get into that, Caitlin, tell us a little bit about you.
Me? Well, yes. I'm a Gemini with a double Capricorn moon. I'm just kidding. I'm an Air Force kid, so I grew up all over. My dad retired and we moved to Kentucky. So when people ask me where I'm from, I say Kentucky because it's just easier. Gosh, I have 3 kids. I've been married for 10 years this July. I like theater. I like to sing. I don't know what do you want? It's easier when you ask me what you want to know.
I feel like I just learned a ton about you.
Oh, really?
Yes. I think you like to sing, you like theater. How did you get involved in theater? Like when did that happen for you?
When my dad, we actually lived in Utah. My dad was stationed at Hill Air Force Base, and in that time, my mom was, I think, trying to find something to maintain her sanity. With 6 daughters who wouldn't need to maintain their sanity. So she was always a great seamstress. Oh, I love Philip. Sorry. She's always been a great seamstress. And so I don't know if she reached out or if there was some need posted somewhere, but we got involved at the Terrace Plaza Playhouse, which is now Beverly's Terrace Plaza Playhouse.
Yeah.
We always just called it the Playhouse. So we got involved there. I started doing Sunshine Generation with like the bright orange and white yellow dresses and then, the cutesy stuff. And I thought that was I'm number 4 of 6. So the fact that I could be on stage and like have people look at me and laugh and think I was so cute was amazing. And talk about an adrenaline rush. Like that happened and I was gone. I was like, this is the life. This is for me. I like it. So anyway, did shows there, did all that kind of stuff. And that was kind of really where it started. When we moved, there weren't a ton of opportunities. There's a traveling, and I can't remember what they're called, Missoula Children's Theater.
Yep, Missoula Children's Theater.
So when we lived in Portugal, they actually came out there. They sent a couple people there. So I got to do a show there. But having lived in all these places, I'm always shocked at how few opportunities there are elsewhere and how many opportunities there are in Utah, which I think is fantastic. But most of my opportunities and experience comes from school. So, yeah. So,
Caitlin has recently been cast as Elle Woods in Legally Blonde, which is amazing. I have had the fortune to see her in a couple of rehearsals, and she's really great. Like, she's fantastic.
Thank you.
Here's a little
look at Ashley. Oh, we're so cute.
You are double cast as Elle Woods, so there's 2 casts for the show, and I think one of the things that and we talked about this, and one of the things we want to talk about is like, how do we get past the perceptions of who a character is, and how do we as humans, figure that out? And so I'd like to know what made you decide to audition for a role that honestly is traditionally not played by a person like me or you.
Yes. Well, I've known Legally Blonde for a long time. I watched on MTV. I watched The Search for Elle Woods as it came out. And then I watched the MTV version when it came out. And I've loved the musical. I loved the movie, because who doesn't love Reese Witherspoon and Laura Bell Bundy? I mean, come on. But so I was like, I'm going to audition for the show, and I will be Bruiser. Like, just, I will dress up like the dog, and just to be a part of the show, I would be happy to be Bruiser. But they have you list like, okay, what would you be interested in? What roles? And for the longest time, I'm pretty sure I was the first one to sign up for auditions, if I'm remembering correctly. Because I was watching that link. I was like, where is it? Let's do this. Let's sign up. But between when that was posted where you could sign up to, I think it was like maybe a week, maybe 3 days. I don't exactly remember when. I went in and I edited my audition form and added Elle. And a lot of that was, I was telling myself, I'm not allowed to be Elle because I'm not a size 2 or a 6 where you can pass, like I'm not slender, not thin. I also was not blonde. I was very much of auburn hair, which that's a wig. That's a dye job. But there were a lot of things that I felt were, when we think about the perception of Elle Woods, we think of her as thin. We think of her as busty, blonde, which, I mean, the blonde part is pretty important, I would say. Just maybe a little. But I just kept thinking, I cannot lose 100 pounds in 3 weeks. I can't. It's just, I can't do it. I could chop off my leg and I still probably wouldn't be 100 pounds. So, anyway, I decided to, after talking to a couple of different people who were like, oh my gosh, that's a cute one. I haven't seen that one. I talked to, I think it was Heather. I talked to Questley. I think I may have talked to you. And by talking, I mean, I was crying. Like, I was like, I can't, there's no way. It's just not possible. I'm not allowed. Right? not allowed to be Elle Woods. And I was like, but you know what? At one point after these conversations, I was like, here's the thing. Just because I'm auditioning doesn't mean I'm going to get Elle Woods. Oh, that's cute. Look at Heather. Oh my gosh. I haven't seen any of these. So this is great.
Nobody has. I'm just another thank you flash photo. But these are premiering live right now for everyone.
Oh my gosh.
An exclusive reveal.
Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you, but
no, it's okay. I'm sorry. I get distracted.
You cried and
cried a lot. Lots of crying. And then I just thought, you know what? Why not? Why not put my hat in the ring? And one of the reasons why is because, so I don't know if you guys knew this, that Legally Blonde is based on a book. So it was a book first, and then it was a movie, and then it was a musical. And actually in the book, they don't go to Harvard. It's the beginning. Right, Aubrey, right? They're so cute. But I was like, you know what? Here's the thing. The whole point, at one point in the musical, Elle says, I was living in ignorant bliss till I learned I could be more than this. And I think a lot of people think that, oh, like a dumb blonde, but more than that, and having had the time to be able to explore her a little more, I think more than that, she's talking about people's perception of her. People put her in a box because she was from Malibu, she was blonde, she was thin, she was a Delta Nu, she was, she liked to shop, she likes pink, so that must mean she's stupid. Or a little bit, airheady at least. She might be smart when it comes to fashion, but outside of that, you just stay in your box, right?
Yeah.
Or I don't know. So anyway, I kind of had that moment of like, you know what? Who says that I can't? And also, I'm not the director, and they may go a completely different direction, but I am not going to allow what I look like to be the reason why I either don't audition or I don't, or if I don't get the part, I'm not going to use that. I'm not going to use that as well, they didn't cast me because I'm not a size 2. Because Elle Woods doesn't need to be a size 2 in order to be Elle Woods.
So I want to ask a question as a large man myself. I genuinely would like to know more about how you got the confidence to do that, because I'm not sure I could have. And I'm not asking for anything. I'm literally saying, as a person that has struggled his whole life to be considered normal or accepted, I guess is the words, how I'd really like to know more about the journey you went through, because obviously you got cast, which is, I cannot wait for people to see you, because what you said is true, but I can't imagine even walking into the audition room. I literally can't imagine it. So I'd like to know more about what your thought process was even on that night.
A lot of it was turning off my brain and just doing it. Which is not an easy thing. I think we say, oh, you just go, you just do it. There was days leading up to that. I'm pretty sure we could go through my Marco Polo chats with Heather, and we could have like at least 7 where I'm just like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing it. There's no chance. Or I'm crying, or I was crying to Neil. And why was I crying? Because I was so self-conscious. I was like, I cannot. They're going to go, I'm going to walk into that room and they're going to laugh. They're going to be like, what the heck does this girl think she's doing? And what's funny is that I know Rachel, and I've known you. I know you, and I know Questley. Questley wasn't in the room. I didn't know Shelby leading up to this, but I knew I've never worked with Rachel in this way. I wanted to work with Rachel.
The director, Rachel Howick. Just so
Director
Rachel Howick.
And I was like, and I know I know I work well with Brandon. Again, we have never worked in this capacity together before. And Questley, who I've taken voice lessons from throughout the years, and who I've, worked with in other ways, I was like, these are all good people. And they're all people who continually turn out great work. And so I actually had to focus mostly on that. But on the flip side, the more mental side of the whole, okay, yes, I'm going to put my name down. I was listening to. I was actually just scrolling reels on Instagram. I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't being, like, oh, I was listening to a comedian. I was just scrolling on Instagram, and a clip of a comedian's show came up, and she's like, oh yeah, yep, I'm fat. And someone in the, everyone's like, oh no, and she goes, no, it's okay. I'm fat. I'm not ugly. I didn't say I was ugly. Like, people's response to I'm fat or, is, oh no, you're gorgeous. And this comedian goes, if a short person was to be like, I'm short, they wouldn't be like, oh no, you're so smart. Right.
Right.
That would not be stating a physical characteristic of yourself. We use fat, and fat has been a curse word, a swear word. It's been an insult, something to fling at someone to make them feel bad, and we've allowed that power to maintain its hold. And so for a lot of my deep diving with friends and my therapist, yes, was unpacking what that word meant in my life and why it had the power in my life. I can't change the world by saying everyone stop thinking about fat that same way, right?
Yeah.
Or a character's your funky nose. You know what I mean? Like, let's stop using characteristics as insults. Okay. I can't reach out to the world and be like, we're done with that. It would be great. I can do that for me. That's where I can start, is with me, and by saying, yes, yay for therapy, so true. I can start with me, and I can say, I am going to I'm going to start today to not allow that word to have the same have that same just razoring effect to my confidence. And that was the day that I actually went in and put my name. I added L to the names of characters that I would like to play. Because at the end of the day, I did want to play L. It wasn't like, oh, that would be so fun. It was, I wanted to. And I still feel that we have a lot of similarities. Oh no. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's chaos happening outside.
Oh, the babe.
The baby. So, sorry, mom brain.
It's okay.
Okay. I think he's being taken care of. That, or he just passed out. It's fine. Whatever. It's quiet. So.
You can tell you have more than one kid.
Oh yeah.
After the first one, you're just like, yeah, they'll be fine.
Yeah. He ate it up. He ate dirt out of the backyard. Great. I don't care. Whatever.
Don't have to get
So again, I think a lot of it is just taking power away from certain words and giving power to other things that are more important, like talent. And that being said, this is also a first for me, in the sense that this is the first full-length musical I have ever done that requires this much dancing. I even in high school, I did Peter Pan, but we didn't dance a lot. And then my senior year was Man of La Mancha, and that has like 0 to no dancing. And then there was a 10-year gap, right? I didn't have any theater experience really when I was in college and that kind of stuff. So I think a lot of it is being able to tell ourselves that, like, if a director has an image of someone or of their character, right? Let's say Rachel Hellwig said, I want XYZ for my L's, and I didn't fit XYZ. I have to stop telling myself it's because I'm fat. I have to take that power away from that word. It would have to have been, it's because I wasn't what they were looking for. Maybe I need to go and take some more voice lessons, which maybe is actually definitely an absolutely. But like, we can always improve.
That's true. You should always improve, but your voice is delightful. So.
Thank you. And I think a lot of it is to just thank you. Also, fun fact, do you want to know? This is a funny thing that this show in particular involves so many snaps. I can't snap with anything but my thumb and my pinky. I can't. I don't know how else to do it.
I can't snap.
I don't know how you do it.
That's
I don't know. Like, I see people snapping with this, and I'm like you can I can kind of mix, but not as. This is like Thanos.
This is painful.
My fingers are like terrible. I know. I'm sorry. I'm weird. It's fine.
Like,
this is actually why I was cast as Elwood.
If I just try this, my hand's gonna cramp up.
I have to say something to Heather.
Okay.
Alert. That's all. Gotta go. Okay. Moving on, because like inspirational. I just want to say that. But what was it like when you walked into rehearsals the first time? I mean, you're not only did you put yourself out there to audition for a role that is often played by a size 2, or whatever quote, yeah, right. But then you're going to walk in, and you not only are walking into that situation, but you're double cast. How did that affect all of you?
Well, like all of me as a being, or all of us as a cast?
Both. Start with you.
Okay. Well, I actually don't know how to answer the cast question, but
there's a few people from the cast watching, so maybe they'll answer it.
Yes, chime in. I don't know why that happened. That voice. Okay. All right. So for me, I walked in, and so there's been a lot of pressure. Like that famous song that's going around these days. I
had to think about it, what song that was, and then I sang it in my head.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
It's from Encanto. Go look it up. Anyway, there was a lot of pressure on me because it felt like, because my XYZ wasn't what it should be typically. Also, my room's getting very dark. I apologize. I had to be 200 times better at A, B, and C than anybody else in that room. Simply because my X, Y, and Z was not where it should be.
That's what you were thinking. That's what your brain was
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And like, I've put so much pressure on myself from the beginning, and I, coming to terms with this, that it's a learning process, and I'm not going to be perfect, and it's going to be okay. And it's actually really I feel like last night's rehearsal was amazing. I felt like it was the best I'd ever been, and I definitely made lots of mistakes, but I felt better. And I think a lot of it was the fact that I started to let go of the pressure, of the perfectionism. When I walked in for the first rehearsal, I had actually told Neil, I was like, I can't go to rehearsal because I'm not memorized. First rehearsal.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of pressure that I had been putting on myself because I don't look like Elle, which is silly.
Have you? Go ahead, Dan. You go.
No, that's okay. For me, it's always an interesting thing because I'm very much a self-reflective person. Mm-hmm. And I think that, what you're describing is a reality for so many people. Take it again, and you mentioned this, but outside of the theater world, the pressures that we put on ourselves and the expectations that we put on ourselves, and then the follow-up is then we start beating ourselves up for not meeting our expectations, not anybody else's. Mm-hmm. It's when we don't meet our own expectations that we put on ourselves. Right. And it's just this vicious cycle, right? Mm-hmm. Where all of a sudden we start even punishing ourselves for not meeting the expectations that we set for ourselves. And so having a really good example that you're sharing, I think it just opens things up that I think everybody does it.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Inside and outside of theater, I think there's a lot of, we think that we're supposed to have this super high standard, or that everyone expects us to be at this level. And so because that's the expectation, but I want to I want to blow people away. I don't want to just meet someone's expectation. I want to go above and beyond. And I think most people have that desire to be useful. And we think that to be useful, we have to go above and beyond a standard. Because if we only reach that standard, well, they only fulfilled the terms of their contract. They didn't really go above and beyond. They didn't really, like, show up outside of that. Sometimes they can't, I really close this conversation. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. But yeah, it's true, because we have these pressures that you hear certain things in society or at the theater or at work or wherever, that, oh, so and so was such a great person to work with. They always came in with donuts every Friday. So then you feel like, okay, I gotta be the person. I gotta be the donut girl. Like I gotta do the thing. And I gotta, instead of they gotta be homemade donuts, like not just any donuts. I gotta make them myself and bring them in and throw some coffee and hot chocolate in there too. Like, not because you're trying to outdo someone else, but because you want to be seen as valuable. You want those things to be said about you behind closed doors versus, oh, they're so lazy. They only fulfilled this much, right? We only asked this much and that's what they did, but it wasn't enough. And again, I don't actually think people have those conversations. I think it's because we hear praise of other people going above and beyond. Yes. Exactly what Heather says. She's so good. She's so good with the words.
She should be a writer.
She should.
I
mean,
mean,
turn the light on. Hold on.
Well, I think while she's turning on her light, I think what you're saying, Caitlin, is so interesting, because we in the theater world are expected to be like open and like okay and like just great, but I think we all also hide so many things. And I would love to know if you think there's a way to fix some of that. I mean, listen, I know you're not like but like I'm just interested in your conversation about that, because you've gone through something that is great, and obviously a lot of it was in our heads. How do we fix it? Do we talk about it more? Do we what do we do?
That's a great question. I don't know that I have an answer that fixes every situation, but I think one step is to have some sort of personal validation moment, affirmations. Whether it's just this idea that like I am going to put myself out there knowing that I'm going to get hurt. That's such a thing. That's such a thing in this world of theaters. You put yourself out there, you desperately want this role. It's your dream role, but so do 80 other girls.
Right.
And so I think that's one, is starting with you and saying like, I am capable of doing this. And if I don't get it, it's not because I'm horrible. Does it mean that there's room for improvement? Always. We should always be wanting to improve ourselves. Otherwise, what's the point? That's boring.
I think not only is the conversation to, about yourself and being okay if you don't get it. Like being okay if you don't get it is important, but I think it's also important to be okay with the other people that didn't give it to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like as a director, as a person who has sat behind the table many times in my life, I can't tell you the number of times people have been angry at me because I did the thing you asked me to do, which was pick an Elle Woods, for example.
Yeah.
And so I think as theater people, we have to stop this idea that everyone is against everybody. And get into this place where we are together and we're doing it together.
Yes.
And understanding that everyone's doing the best that they can for that moment. Like,
there's room on the stage for everybody. There's room on the stage for everyone, and maybe not in that particular show, but there will keep trying. Normalize conversation of the feelings. Absolutely, Philip. I completely agree with that. Normalize it. Also normalize, I think, praising people's failure.
Sure.
Being able to say, oh my gosh, you know what though? Like that sucks that you didn't get it. And that's really hard, but I'm really proud of you for putting yourself out there. Cause we literally go into an audition room, go judge me. Am I what you want? No. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Well, and I don't remember where it was said, but I heard it recently, and I wish I did. But somebody said that, you could be the prettiest, the best tasting apple in all the land. It literally matters zero if the director's looking for an orange.
Exactly.
It matters none. It has nothing to do with you. Nothing.
Right. Yeah. And not only that, but like, I'm saying this because I feel this in my bones. The person who's cast as Elle Woods or Joe March or Anne Frank may not have been the most talented person. I guarantee every single person in this Legally Blonde cast is fantastic. I will shout that from the rooftops. You put me in a tree, I will shout it from there. I will do it. But I'm sure when our first choreography came along, they were like, this is this is the girl. Okay. And so you know what? I say that and I'm like, because that's my narrative in my head. Maybe probably nobody was probably thinking about me at all, right? Like how selfish of me is it to say they were thinking about me? But like if you were to look at me objectively, or if someone was to come to the show and be like, oh, she struggles to dance a little bit, I certainly do. I was not cast. I can tell you right now, I don't think I was cast on my dancing abilities. There was a cocktail, right? There's a combination of reasons why people are or are not cast. You didn't see my conflict schedule.
Sure.
You didn't, maybe the director worked with or contacted somebody else that I have worked with before and said, hey, I'd really like to know, is she good to work with? Is she, which again, I'm growing, I'm learning. There's a lot of things that I have learned, tons of things that I have learned for off stage as well as on stage. And so I think we have to be able to say as castmates, as people who go and view theater at other places, that maybe we didn't even audition for that show, right? We just support theater because support the arts. It's a thing. Go do it. But we think, oh, why were they cast? Like, oh, they're a little bit, maybe their voice isn't perfect, or their dancing is a little off, or their acting's a little flat. So we think, right? So like, oh, but that person back there, we have no idea what into that combination of that decision. And at the end of the day, maybe they were trying to give that person an experience to grow, an opportunity. And we didn't see where they started and to where they are now at performance time. I think it's so important for everyone, both actor and production team member, to say I am going to give myself and other people the fairest chance possible, and I'm also going to give them the benefit of the doubt, because I think there's a huge, well, they didn't cast me because so-and-so's their friend, and then their friend is this person, and then blah, 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 and that happens, and it's unfortunate. But if that's the reason why you stop going, then maybe this isn't where you should be.
Well, and I think that when it comes to things like that, if somebody gets cast because of who they know, then do you want to be part of that?
Right.
I mean, and it's interesting to me. I think going back, sorry to talk about the apples and oranges, I would even argue too, sometimes, for those who cook, you could be the sweetest apple, but if you're baking a pie, you don't use sweet apples, you use tart apples. Mm-hmm. So if a director has a different vision of where they want to take this show, and it might be a little bit different, that's another situation where, you might come into it with as the perfect version of Elle Woods, but it's your version.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody just needs to take a moment and say, you know what? Just because I wasn't the apple that was picked today doesn't mean that I've lost value as an apple.
Or I could never be. Maybe the next person is going to be looking to bake an apple pie instead of a chocolate cake.
Right.
This analogy has taken a turn, people. Now
I'm really hungry, actually.
What's for dinner? What is
dinner time here?
Okay, but really, we do have to wrap up, Caitlin, because...
Oh, right, yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. But this is a fantastic conversation, and it needs to be had more. I appreciate you being open and honest, because you said things that even I wish that I could have voiced better. So I appreciate that from you, because I think it's needed, and I think these conversations need to continue with production teams and theaters and casts of shows to really support each other and be okay with each other. So but all right, well, you're the best. If anybody wants to see her as Elle Woods, she can be seen. It opens February 4th.
Yes, my cast opens February 5th. But if you're asking me, you should get a ticket to both shows, because they are both, like, to both casts, because they're both brilliant and different. So you'll see the same show, but it's going to be different, and it's going to be amazing. So come see both.
I love that. All right, Caitlin, we love you. Thank you for joining us this week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye, Caitlin.
Dan, how amazing is Caitlin?
Okay, can I just say, like, I feel like for the past couple of these, right?
Yeah.
Man, we've hit some really good topics that are super important. We've talked about vulnerability, and this is kind of like an echo to that, and how we can, like, Caitlin,
totally
like,
agree. And you know, something that stood out to me during this conversation that and I would love to have more time to delve into this, and we might bring Caitlin back and ask these questions, but I can't imagine how much harder it is for a woman in theater, because if I'm quite honest, there are so many times somebody just walked by holding their phone watching us. Anyway, but there are so many times as a man, I know that I'm getting a part because I'm the only man that showed up. And so that's also a thing that is really hard, and it's probably a huge hurdle for women. And how do we solve it? Like, you know, like, so many questions. I don't know the answers are either. I just work here. Caitlin's our new therapist, though. That's what I've
right. To everybody that watched and does watch.
Carrie L says it was me. That I wasn't going to call her out, but it was her that walked by my office watching.
I agree. It's interesting of the male experience is very different. And I think of just in where I've been on audition sides, and also on the other side of that table, it's so much more difficult. But I would argue, it's so much more difficult to cast women. But I would argue that that's yet another reason why you should say, okay, the decision is difficult, so I can't tie my value to those decisions.
Sure. Agreed.
Because
agreed.
I just looking back to my most recent directing experience with Beauty and the Beast, there were probably, I think we called 10 or 12 back for Belle, and there were probably another 10 or 12 who could have been Belle. I mean,
right.
And that, so
agreed.
Put that where it is. It's difficult. It's just difficult.
Well, this has been a great chat. I wish we could do it for another hour and a half, but now I'm really hungry because all we talked about was pies and cakes.
That's true.
So that's all I'm thinking about, if I'm honest now. But as always, please find a place. Oh, wait, before I end, next week, we're bringing Ty, who is the executive director of the Empress Theater in Magna, will be joining us.
Oh,
that's
exciting.
So excited to have him on. So anyway, so tune in next week, because it's going to be a great conversation. We're going to talk about community theaters and the struggle that is community theater. And hopefully some of this will come up too, because I think he would have great insight in that. But anyway, that aside, please go support the arts. Find a place to support live theater or the arts, whether it's at OPA or anywhere else. The arts need our support. So please go out, see live theater, support the artists and the people and the shows. Okay, we love you all. Okay, it's that awkward time, Dan.
Awkward waving.
Bye.